In this video, I'm going to be talking about what I did today in the cage and what I learned from working with 6 different hitters, all at different levels of the game. The difference between the closed skill side of hitting and the open skill side of hitting. And if you're watching this, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'm going to be talking through what I learned today. Something that I do is I try to come in here, and my YouTube video process is record something after I get done doing in-person teaching. There's nothing that makes me have to be a better communicator than working with different hitters at different levels that have different body types, different swing inefficiencies, things that they're working on to create the same goal, which is backspinning the ball at 15 to 25 degrees on its way up through the back wall, right? So that you can continue to create backspin through the baseball and be adjustable for many different pitches. But there's a process that goes into this that I would like to talk about in this video, and it's why I take my time. So for those of you that don't know, I played 10 years, 9 years, whatever you want to call it, of professional baseball. And the whole time I was in the pursuit of things that I didn't know weren't important. They were more byproducts, not focal points. So now I've gone through all of that, and I consider myself like a water filter on the side of a fridge of information for these hitters that are on their path to college baseball, to professional baseball. And ultimately, my job is to prepare them for the major leagues with all of the things that I walked through and went through and learned the hard way. So when we come in here, I'm breaking the session up, and they usually take an hour and a half plus, but there's a reason for that, and there's a method to it, because the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a context, a preface. I'm going to set up the session so that they know what to expect, but also break it into segments where we're doing central nervous system activation, we're working on counter rotation, we're working on developing more T-spine rotation, working on not over rotating, we're working on closing down the gaps, working in tight spaces, trimming off the fat of the swing so that they're not up here just flailing around trying to find their barrel and warm up at the same time, something that I believe in. You've got to warm up to hit, not hit to warm up, right? When I think about the best hitters that I watch, that I've trained with, that I've studied, you know, some of the guys I'll name off the top: Will Smith, Bobby Witt, Adam Duvall, some of these guys that I've spent a lot of time around in my own personal life, their focus and preparation to succeed is far greater than them trying to succeed in the moment. But what goes into that is a lot of time getting their movement prep right, a lot of time having the right drill process, knowing what the hitter needs. You know, sometimes people may think, oh, backspin is a cookie cutter thing. There's no cookie cutter in here. What it's about when you're working with hitters, when I'm training hitters, is giving the hitter what they need. Some hitters are going to need, for example, some hitters today, I needed to do split grip, open angle, with them getting square to the ball with the goal to hit it up this way. So what that required was for them to get their body position right and then stay through the ball, because it was a bigger guy, 6'3", 6'4" hitter that had his hands in like this, and he had a very short runway to get his swing off. So what I did, by putting him in this situation to fail, I actually set him up to succeed, because of what he was doing, he quickly realized he couldn't execute the drill based on the constraints at hand. So I changed it up and put him in a different position. You know, there's other situations where I may have a hitter that needs closed angle, and I'm going to put his body in a compromised position to accomplish a task that forces him to be square at contact and through the ball. You know, it may be closed angle, split stance, hit through here and hit through the ball, and they have to feel themselves braced at contact. You know, I may have to pull out a water bag. We may have to do isometric holds. All of this stuff goes into what I like to call developing the swing, right? This is the closed skill side of hitting, and the closed skill side is much more, think like the mechanics of a free throw, right? The mechanics of a golf swing. You know, these things that are very straightforward, cut and dry in order to accomplish the task. For me, think about backspin. I've already made a video on that. But, you know, in order to backspin the ball, you do have to hit certain checkpoints, right? And this is where we develop the swing, and I'll spend an hour or so getting the body set up to where we can work on the swing without having to warm up, but also where I'm baking in all of these things and these checkpoints that the hitter needs to hit without forcing them, flooding them with information, overwhelming them, where I'm just setting them up to go be themselves, but doing it in a way where they may have an external target or a way that they have to organize their body. For example, another drill that I had to do today, I had a hitter that's very stuck. He felt stuck in the mud, felt stuck, a little too wide, not athletic, feeling like behind on everything. So what I did with him, I started his feet close together, made him do step back, flow into front toss, and then made him start with his feet close together, get his posture, and get in and attack the ground, not hover. I don't like hover because it puts you on like a unstable base, but really like thinking like a running back or running on a slight decline, get him into the ground, and then from there, stay through contact. And then took that same move into arm BP because he really needed to free himself up athletically. Again, it's all about what the hitter needs. You know, there was another situation today, a guy who's a college commit, home for the summer, developing. His miss was under in this way. So what did I do? One hand work with him feeling like he was really sticking that palm up position and changing his target and being very specific, right? And then I had two other hitters who were struggling to be on barrel in the challenge work, which that's the next phase of things that go on here in unfinished player development, where it's basically me working with hitters from college level, MLB level, high school level, and developing them and holding them to a standard, which is major league level. Can you hit in the major leagues? Do you have a swing, the closed skill side, which I didn't have, which is why I'm so aware of this stuff and hypersensitive to this stuff, is because basically I may have had the open side mastered, but because my swing wasn't good enough, the closed skill side I've become obsessed with, which is why I've figured out backspin is the #1 priority. Because if you can backspin the ball to your pull side gap, if you catch it a little deep, but I'm trying to get square out in front, if you catch it a little deep, because you're on a mission to get here and you haven't created barrel depth on the backside and haven't gone long here, you've trimmed the fat on the backside, what happens is you actually got adjustability out in front, because if you catch it on this path, right, and you catch it deep, I'm still gonna drive the ball this way. Or if I'm trying to get square, my body position's right, oh, that's not what I thought it was gonna be, it's something slower or softer. I'm able to hold positions and get body positions that create vertical bat angle, allow me to stay through the ball, right, and not off and across the ball. And so many hitters that I work with, and you may be watching this thinking this is me, right, have such a small window of contact because they're in tight, they don't have a good runway. The way I like to think of this is like a plane, right? You know, a plane can't get off the runway, and I know some of you all are visual learners, so I'm gonna talk about this. Why would you expect a plane to be able to get up to full speed when it has the length of a driveway to get off the runway? You need space. So the minute that I tell a bigger guy, like, hey man, you need to get everything set up off the backside of your torso and be ready to hit, and from here, just take your same short swing, we're not creating a long swing, we're creating a smooth swing, a fast swing that continues to accelerate through contact, but not speed up and rotate across. You're just barrels continuing to pick up speed as you continue focus on driving through, which creates backspin. And that's where you master the closed side of hitting. And then, you know, let me say this. There's hitting, there's a swing, and then there's hitting with the swing, right? So the closed side skill, just to clear this up in this video, I do these one take after I wrap up. It's a great way for me to communicate and share very fresh knowledge with all you all here. But the closed side skill is where you develop and train the swing, right? Your routine building, what you need, simplifying complex topics. And then because you've baked all that in and you've really focused on that, now we can transition to the open side skill of hitting, which is you versus the baseball, you versus the test, you versus the pitcher profile, and having your swing set up so that you can just focus on having a good approach and a plan and trusting it. And now we've made a transition from just swinging at the ball to actually hitting. And this is what makes an elite hitter or a good hitter become elite, because now we're starting to become a hit collector. But because you've got things set up the right way, you're also hitting for average and effortlessly creating power, which that's the ultimate goal. Because you need to be able to get in the box and understand, oh man, I'm left on left here. I probably need to open up the gate and have a plan that's covering this. But then, oh, later in the game, I may need to close this gap down and be prepared with posture to stay through this side. That's where you have to get outside of what's internally going on and get an external target and attack. And something that happened today is I had hitters that didn't have a good enough, specific enough external plan. And what happens when we want to create big outcomes, we have to actually go back and go small, right? And they had a round, I let them go. You know, this is my job as the teacher, as the coach, the hitting coach. is to let them kind of flail around a little bit, right? And let you do it yourself before you actually pay attention. So I'm sitting here, you know, I'm throwing BP, I'm at an open angle, throwing hard BP to juniors in high school, and they're hitting some balls good, but the round's not as good as what I know they can do. And again, the standard is the standard. Are you ready to hit major league pitching? What you're doing right now is not ready. So what I did with them is they hit the round a little frustrated, and I walk down and I talk, and this is what I do every time. I say, okay, what were you thinking there? I don't know. Where are you trying to hit the ball? Point it out here, not specific enough. I said, okay, let's go back, right? Because my job as the hitting coach, as the teacher of elite simplicity, teaching guys what it would take to be your own coach, is not adding more information. It's reminding and reflecting on what they've already done successfully. So I'm sitting here saying, okay, think back to when you had your best week. What were you trying to do? All they were trying to do was just hit line drives to second base. So what did I do? Get focused on that. What did I do? Say hit line drives at the cage, right? Next thing you know, they got in here. The next round, focused on hitting line drives at second base. And sure enough, it was double to left center, homer to right center, double to left center. And then we reflected, and I said, okay, what happened there? I just have more specific focus, right? If you want to accomplish things that lead to big outcomes, you narrow your focus and you go to work. And when we talk about what it takes to hit in a game, you have to have this type of focus where it's very specific and you're very focused on the task at hand, because when you're up against a guy 60 feet, 6 inches away, you've got to get specific, right? Because you don't have time to be thinking about what my mechanics are doing, what with this and that and the others going on. You have to get specific on what your plan is and being ready for his best fastball, or hunting a location, hunting a zone. If you can do these things, you're going to be successful, right? But in order for you to be an elite hitter and a consistent hitter, you have to master the closed side of this, which is developing your swing and developing mechanics that create consistent backspin and these things, and then transition to the open sides, which is hitting with the swing that you have. If you can do both of these things, you're going to have success and be situation proof. That's all I care about, is for you to be able to be in a place where, if you're watching this video, say you got a text, hey, you just got called up to the Cincinnati Reds, you're hitting 3-hole tomorrow. You just got called up to the Dodgers, you're in the lineup tomorrow. You could trust your routine no matter what age you are and go in and compete. And that's my job, is to teach guys that, because that was a place that I didn't get to very consistently. If you can get there, you're going to be situation proof. And because you're focused on dominating major league pitching, you're also going to dominate every other level. And if you can do this, if you're watching this at home, that's how you know you're in a place where you can just go compete. And then you have mental freedom, because you know you can trust your mechanics. And this is what it takes to be great. This is what I care about. If you're watching this, take this stuff to heart and go master the cage work. Put more focus into being good in the cage than you are focused on having a good game, and watch your game results start to open up. Okay, if you want to work with me, also go ahead and apply below for online coaching, online training. I live around Louisville, Kentucky, Anderson Miller, unfinished player development. Please reach out, fill out an application. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.